I'm going to start off, guys. How many of you read your rule book? How many of you have gone back here? Code of Ethics. Okay, I think this should be in our rules clinic for coaches and referees. Because if you read the Code of Ethics, my topic is how to get along with the coach. Well, if the coach knows his job, it's really not too hard to get along with him. If he does. If you read down here, it says the function of the coach is to educate students to participate in interscholastic competition, and interscholastic should be designed to enhance academic achievement, should never interfere with the opportunities for academic success. Okay, and then we'll go down here a little bit further. The coach shall be aware that he or she has a tremendous influence, for either good or ill, in the education of the student. And we go on down one more. The coach, this is the one that really is. The coach shall uphold the honor and dignity of his profession. In all personal contact with students, officials, athletic directors, school administrators, the state high school association, the media, and the public, the coach shall strive to set an example of the highest ethical and now the next one down here, it says, the one I wanted, it says the coach shall avoid the use, well, let's get down here. The coach shall master the contest rules and shall teach them to his or her team members. The coach shall not seek an advantage by circumventing, the spirit of the letter of the rules. Okay, and the coach shall respect and support contest officials. Now we go to our side of it to help us out. It says, as such, they must exercise a high level of self-discipline, independence, and responsibility. The purpose of the code is to establish guidelines for ethical standards of conduct for all interscholastic officials. Officials shall master both the rules of the game and the mechanics necessary to enforce the rules, and shall exercise authority in an impartial, firm, and controlled manner. Okay, now this is what we do here. Officials shall work with each other and their state association in constructive and cooperative manner. So we work together trying to get to these things, and I'm just going to read one more right here. Officials shall be punctual and professional in the fulfillment of contract, obligation, and the next one. Officials shall remain mindful of their conduct, influence, respect of the student athletes, coaches, and the public for the profession. Okay, now, if we know our code of ethics and they know their code of ethics, things should just roll through. If we know our rules. Number one, you got to know your rules. If you want to get along with the coach, you got to know your rules. And now for the young officials and for all of us, the number one thing you got to do is you got to relax when you're in the gym. I mean, wrestling's been really, really good to me. And I've had fun doing it. If you go into referee to have fun and relax, things will come. You won't have to worry about the rules because you will understand them. You understand them, you read them if you relax and you know your rules and think. Another thing, I haven't had trouble with this because I wear hearing aids now, but don't have rabbit ears. If you want to get along with the coach, you don't try to find him chipping at you. Let the little chipping go. Don't, if they start calling you, names and it gets really belligerent and where they start to excite the crowd, then you got to get after him. But if he's just chipping at you on the side, it's not that big a deal. I remember working with a coach in here that's a referee now that used to always tell me, don't worry, son, keep working. He'll recognize stalling here in a minute. Don't you? Now, if a guy had rabbit ears and was offended by that, he could get aggressive and go after the coach. And that's another thing you don't do. Don't ever be aggressive towards the coach, because all you're going to do is you're going to start bad feelings. Not only are you going to have bad feelings with the coach, you're going to have bad feelings with the people in the gym. Because regardless of whether you know it or not, the kids love their coach, and so do the people who they have. So if you go after the coach, you're starting to get things that don't work. Okay, don't try to get in verbal arguments. Try to stay out of them. If a coach cusses you, would you hand me that book side of you right there that I brought with me? If a coach gets excited with you and you get mad at him and he walks away from you, don't chase him. Let him go. Don't chase him down, because it will get you into trouble. Now, let me keep on here. It says, if a coach comes to you and he's being real verbal and aggressive, one thing you need to remind the coach And it doesn't hurt to remind him that it's his duty to keep the crowd under control. It's the coach's duty and their administrator to keep the crowd. So a lot of it's his examples. If we talk to him number one thing I keep coming back to, and I've wrote it down in here twice, is you got to stay calm. Don't let the call before affect you. You've got to, if you've blown a call and you've got it taken care of and you've talked it out, forget it. It's done. Okay? I'll tell you something I try to avoid is making eye contact with the coach. If I'm not making eye contact with me, he's not yelling at me. You know, if you make eye contact with him and he's got a bad body language and he's mad at you, you're going to be able to tell right now, and it's going to affect you. It's going to affect yourself. That's to me. If I can keep the coach out of my mind for the match, it keeps you more on control of your match, so it's easier to control them. Right here, I got number one: keep in the position on the good grace of the coach. Stay in position to make the call. You don't make any calls looking up somebody's hind end. You want to keep yourself, if you can, at the shoulders where points are going to be scored, and you need. It's something I do that not everybody does. That I try to keep myself between wrestlers and out of bounds, if I can. If they're on their feet and wrestling, if they're down, I try to keep myself at the shoulders, looking far near fall, keeping up front where you can see it. Usually up front, you're going to see your locked hands. You're going to be able to observe most of the stuff, but stay in position. Coaches will recognize that you know where you're calling if you stay in position. I don't see a lot of people doing this, but I do this on purpose. I restart matches quickly. If I can get them inbounds on the field and get the match started quickly, they're through yelling at me and they're yelling at their kids again. The crowd quits yelling at you. When the yell comes is when you're going out of bounds and you've made a call and they don't like the call and you bring them right back in, you blow the whistle, the call's done. They're on with you, they're leaving you alone. They're back to the kids again. And 95% of the time they forget that last call and they're just cheering them on. If you can keep the match rolling, not only that, if you're doing dual matches and you keep things rolling fast, you're making a lot more money per hour. You're not dragging it out, you're getting done and out of there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, keep it moving, the flow of the match. People don't want to be looking at us. And down here on the bottom, the most important call, if you ask any student in my high school or any athlete, I ask them what's the most important play. What is it? The next one. Forget, you can't change your calls. You can't change what you've already done. You can't cry over spilt milk. Get on with the match. Let it go, let it run off your back. We all have a good friend that used to make a bad call, and if he made the bad call, you just see the sweat coming out of him. You knew it was driving him nuts. And you gotta leave it alone. You gotta forget that last call. And on the back here, I've got a little, they're kind of funny things, but it kind of helps me to keep in control with the calls. And number one, it says, the nice thing about the future, it always starts tomorrow. Money will buy a fine dog, but only kindness will make him wag his tail. You know, we kind of get. If you have a sense of humor, if you don't have a sense of humor, you don't probably have any sense anyway. So, you know, a sense of humor, I don't care where you're at, helps. Good time to shut your mouth when you're in hot water. No one says it's only a game when they're winning, right? This is for us older people. It says, I've reached the age where happy hour is a nap. I hope you guys don't mind this, but it's kind of some things I like to understand. It says, money can't buy happiness, but sometimes more comfortable to cry in a Mercedes than it is a Pinto. What's that? There's nothing in here that you're going to have to worry about. They won't get the typical Frank. Always be yourself, because the people that matter don't mind, and the ones who mind don't matter. And that There's life isn't tied with a bow, but it's still a gift, you know, and we enjoy it. But I have a couple of things I write on my board, and they stay there all year. When you go anywhere you go, number one, it's you pull your own happiness wagon. You know, you go into a place with an attitude, a good attitude, it's going to rub off. You know, if with a smile, you can sell an Eskimo refrigerator. I don't care what you say. If you can smile, you can get along with anybody. And the other one says, if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. So if you're not willing to change, you're going to still get the same thing over and over and over again. That's kind of insanity. And the last one is by Dan Gable, before I quit, is it says, never let your physical or mental conditioning be the reason you get defeated. So if you're mentally prepared for a match, you're mentally prepared for a coach, you're physically fit to do it, you're going to have a great time. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. And there's a couple of books that I read. Actually, before I go on, read this. The case manual. I guarantee you're going to find something that you're going to run into. And you're going to say, what was that? And if you've seen it in the case manual, it's an automatic call. Read it. And a couple of books. I've lived by these in my coaching career. This one, the other one, I lend to a coach and he won't give it back to me, is Train to Win. When you train to win in wrestling official, read your books, train yourself, get you ready to go. And the other one, I don't know if any of you know who Dr. Shepard is, but he's the president of Bigger, Faster, Stronger. If you ever get a chance, read his book. It says Being 11. And it'll change your attitude about a lot of things you do. Thank you.